Hello, Renee Flamond here. You guys, on Off Topic Fridays, I try to pick something that can propel us all forward in a positive way. And some of them cross over into the narcissism that we normally discuss. And today's topic is no different. I may not call it a crossover when I entitle this, but the topic of learning to unlove happens to everyone. Whether or not we date only narcissists, we still, as people, when you get into a relationship, sometimes there's a breakup and you have to learn to unlove that person, whether they're a narcissist or not, whether you're a narcissist or not. So it's a huge topic we all deal with, and with the narcissist as well. But I wrote an article. It bothered me so much trying to figure out how to do it, that back when I had my blog, I had posted an article entitled Learning to Unlove. And I'm going to refer to that today as my outline because I've read it. It's exactly how I still feel. This was back in, I posted this on Christmas Day, 2015. But I feel that it's important to look at what we put ourselves through and pay attention to the fact that let me just start, okay? Many of you in life, and God bless you, have found your life's mate, right? I have friends, they've been married 30 years, they seem blissful, they found their life's mate, but there are some of us for whom that quest has yet to be conquered, right? I'm one of those people. The spectrum is wide, all the way from people seeking people to marry to people seeking anyone with whom to do anything. You might not be seeking marriage. You might be seeking children. You might not be there's a huge spectrum. Some of us haven't found our life's mate, okay? I'm pretty much right now open to anything. When I wrote this article, it says here, I'm not reading you the article, I'm referring to it. So it says in there a little bit about how I wasn't dating at this time either. I've mentioned that before to you guys. I take bouts where I'm like, I just came off one. And I'm like, no, pardon me, I'm not going to even date. Meaning I'm not going to get online. I'm not going to go out. I'm going to say no if asked. I mean, it's a choice you make, right? So I was doing that at this time. But regardless of where you fall on the spectrum of singledom, we all probably had the stomping of the heart in some capacity, and we vary in how we navigate through that when that happens. One of the most excruciating things to experience is when someone who told you they love you decides they do not. And we definitely deal with that all the time in our normal realm of conversation with narcissism, right? All the time. They told you they loved you and they decide that they don't, or they no longer do, or they never really did, or some variation. When you review, you can always see the signs that they probably never really did. And I wrote this article, like I said, this is 7 years ago. This is before I learned all about what we talk about normally. But I still had an idea that some people, they just never really did love you. I wasn't quite there yet, so I still had lessons to learn. But, it in no way lessens the blow. From what I've seen in my lifetime, is that at one point or another, we have all been on the smelly end of that one, where your heart's broken. And of course, you could be the person deciding not to love anymore. We've all maybe been in that position too. But that can be just as painful for me personally. Breaking someone's heart, that's hard. In most breakups, unless they're amicably mutual, there's a broken heart and a heartbreaker. Somebody has to learn to unlove the other person. And how does it happen that at one point there's bliss and then there's nothing? That happens in relationships. Think it through. I don't even mean go back to when you were starting out romantically with the person you're currently breaking up with, because I'm not trying to make you relive that right now. But think about it in general terms. Things can be so blissful and they go right down to nothing. I wonder about what is real and what is not, what was imagined or was truly felt. I review relationships and what may become of the union in the future. Being someone who believes in the dreamlike state of euphoria into which love can put you, I tend to hold out onto hope for future possibilities. I had it then in 2015, and I have it now in 2022, post this horrific narcissistic relationship. I do have hope, always, always, always. The best is yet to come, always. Hope, romantic hope, it's all in the future, open possibilities, and that's how I suggest we should all go through life while we are learning to unlove, which we're still unpacking, I know. I digress. When I wrote, I used to digress a lot. But anyway, I come back. Usually, one's mental well-being can be detrimentally affected if you keep hope for too long and in the face of a bleak situation. That's where it starts to wear on you, like with the narcissist. If you're in a situation where the hope is really false, like it's not even that falsehood is, even if it's unbeknownst to you at the time, it's just about as sad as anything I can imagine. I know I tripped on my words there. But the sentence I wrote was, I tend to hold on to hope for future possibilities, which can be and usually is detrimental to one's well-being. As hope, which is false, even if that falsehood is unbeknownst to the hoper, is just about as sad as anything I can imagine. And it is, and we've talked about that. So one of the ways to learn to unlove is to try to figure out when to stop the hoping. And we talk about that all the time on this channel. At some point you have to look at the situation and the truth of it, and you dissect and say, okay, were they ever really in love with me? They said they were, but were they ever really? And then you dissect, okay, the truth of, should I maintain having hope for this person? And we cut our losses. Unfortunately, I think a lot of us hang on for too long. And that doesn't help in the learning to unlove department. It makes you hang on. I don't mean to say hanging on makes you hang on, but it does. Keeps you in that place with that person that you're supposedly learning to try to unlove. Crucial to note is how we behave during the midst of the breakdown, right? I'm a flat-out mess normally in these times if there's a breakup. But I have picked up a few tidbits of helpful hints along the way, most of which should have been status quo minimum. But I got lost a couple of times, so sue me. This is a tidbit that I picked up. Back then I knew this, but no, my narcissist chased me. I think I maintain this. But before you go after him or beg him to come back to you, pause. Pause! Please! The tough question is whether you're doing that because you really love him or you're doing that because you're incensed that he hasn't come for you. Big trap, this one. To look at the situation objectively is nearly impossible when you're in it, but clarity comes with time. I remember showing up on a doorstep of somebody and saying, oh, but you haven't called me in 3 days? This is 15. That's funny, I thought of that. It's with the guy, I remember exactly. And he goes, what? I go, we left that Friday with that conversation and it's Monday now. He goes, all right, well, hi, nice to see you. Like nothing happened. And I've been livid for 3 days. I was livid for 3 days because he wasn't reaching out to me. I already knew I didn't even care. And this guy was getting under my skin in the wrong way. And I knew it wasn't good for me. And I knew we had to break up. And we were broken up. But I was mad because he didn't reach out to me. So you gotta check your own ego. If you're mad just because they haven't come for me, I'm going to see why and make him want. Why? You might not even like him anymore. So just pause, wait it out. Being a very impatient person who seeks resolution immediately, even if hours and hours of talking are needed to achieve said resolution, I can tell you, ladies, that I have faltered endlessly in each instance where I should have just waited it out. In each instance. I can 100% say that. And that continued for 7 years. Well, no, it's not 7 years because I've learned this lesson for 2 years. That continued for 4 or 5 more years after this. I didn't date after this guy for about 3 or 4 years. And then I dated 2 narcissists in a row, and then I opened the channel. And I love reading these articles of where I was then. I'm the same person, but knowing what I've experienced now and looking and seeing these words, they mean so much more. But just recently, I've come to the realization, I write, that when the ego gets needled because someone rejects you in whatever way, decision making regarding your own behavior will most likely yield a big fat mess. I'm going to say that again. When the ego gets needled, and I had to admit this to myself, and that it gets needled because someone rejects you in whatever way, your decision making regarding your own behavior will most likely yield a big fat mess, because that is going to influence you. You're mad. You gotta let that settle. I wish I did that. If I let that settle, I might have been like, oh, he's doing me a favor. I don't think we're meant to be either. I don't even like him. Right? That happened once. I remained, not the last narcissist, but the one before him. I remained, and inside of 2 days, I was like, oh my God, thank God he did that. Maybe 3 days, but you know what I mean? Don't go after him. It's a very, very, very slippery slope. I have begged, pleaded, cried, and even stomped my feet to get someone back to me, only to look back later when it did end, because of course it eventually did, and realize that I was wounded, and that is all that drove me, and not really love at all. That's happened. That's happened. To leap like that takes a soldier's courage too. So I'm not mad at myself that I begged, pleaded, cried. I'm not. You might say, I kicked myself. I'm not. Because at that time, my state of mind was always, I'm going to pour out everything in my head, heart and soul, never leave anything unsaid, never leave anything on the table. I was never going to be in life and say, oh, but if I just explained to him how I felt. No, that I was dramatic. That's how I handled myself. I had to go through those phases to learn who I am. I don't do those things now. I would hope, regardless of how I'm triggered, I would hope I don't ever get to that point. I know my worth now. I'm not begging anyone to be with me or to explain to me or to make me understand. No. Goodbye. The narcissist experience has changed me forever. Forever. But there were times, yes, that I begged, pleaded, and I really caution you to do that. When we are learning to unlove a person, that is setting you back 100 paces. They've explained to you, you know what song I love that's a great portrayal of this? Gwen Stefani, No Doubt, when they first came out with Don't Speak, she says, don't speak. I know what you're saying, so please stop explaining. Don't speak. Like, she just accepts it and that's it. And that allows her to move forward away from someone that broke up with her. When we're begging and pleading, and they've told you how they felt if they broke up with you by their action of breaking up with you. I don't care what words they're saying alongside of it. They're breaking up with you, but I'll always love you. No. You just broke up with me. That's their action is telling you, right? So you got to watch about going back and forth. It's not going to help you learn to unlove this person who has clearly told you that they're not wanting to be with you, and that probably means they don't love you. You can't unlove. You can't just turn it off. I don't know what you mean. Well, obviously it's a play on words, and I'm being, Because maybe you're right. Maybe you can't learn. Maybe you will love that person forever. Maybe it was a healthy relationship and they just decided you're not for them. You might carry a torch for a long time. But you have to learn to unlove. I'm holding coffee with one hand. Unlove them. You have to for your own sanity, which is why I wrote this article. So I'm proud I never left anything unsaid. However, I do wish that I had had an ounce more of better discernment of the truth of the situation. If someone shows you they don't love you, believe them. If someone tells you they don't love you, certainly believe them. Goodness. Having the notion in my head that Cinderella is real, just like my brother thinks Darth Vader is real, I think Cinderella can happen. I tend to romanticize the reasons for everything. Even a breakdown of colossal proportion, we know when to let go, and that time is way past due if he has already let go. Don't romanticize it and hang on thinking it's going to be a movie ending. It might be over for him or her. You know, my pronouns is a guy, and you know, we've talked a lot about pronouns. You put your own in. But when you think it through, if someone's let you go and they're actually at the point that you don't care, I believe the phrase is get a grip at that point. Yep. Get a grip. They clearly don't care. Oh God, I think about the times I used to just, with different people, and now I realize so much about narcissism, and they might have been a narcissist, not this guy, but all the times I was just like, why? I thought you love, like, what was I thinking? Humming. And we've all been there. Well, I told you I have one person I know that, nope, she's never done the ugly cry. More than one, but I know one for sure that she's like, never. She's just like, goodbye if you mistreat her. Didn't go through these breakdowns of colossal proportions and worrying about how to learn to unlove the person. She just moves on. Some of us need a little guidance. I don't do that. I get all wrapped up. My heart gets all broken. So I could have used, to use the phrase get a grip, I could have used some grips to get some grips a whole lot earlier than I had. Grip getting was not my strongest suit. Again, the belief in the fairy tale gets me every darn time. I hang in there thinking, but this felt like the fairy tale. It's got to be it. This is a bump in the road. We'll get through. I'll show him. I'm a buckaroo. I'm going to hang in there and show him I love him, remind him. Holy God. My mother, in aid in my belief in Cinderella, said that, because she just perpetuated by telling me the following two things. If a guy is interested in you, you'll know. Period. After all, don't you want the one with the heroic courage to express himself to you? Is how I took that. I furthered it in my mind. She also said that when a man loves a woman, he will move mountains for her. Now, what I mean by when I say she aided to the Cinderella thing that's haunted me is because that is a very lovely sentiment, that a man who really loves you will move mountains for you. And so this person that just broke up with you that you're learning to unlove wouldn't move mountains for you, fine. But I believed her when she said that, and I still believe her to this day. Because who would want anything less? So you don't want the person that just broke up with you and won't move the mountain, so that should help us learn to unlove them. Unwant to be with them, unrequire their company, unneed them. Unlove them. I feel like, I suppose in that same vein, I will always feel it necessary. I always felt it necessary to let the man know how I felt, even if it turns out that I was wrong. I'm starting to think that I've been wrong a lot. I know that I've been wrong a lot. But I don't feel wrong about always fully expressing myself. I'm glad I said everything, even if I was being a fool and I was talking to a narcissist 10 years ago who didn't care. I still don't regret it. Even if I cried, I don't care. I didn't know what was going on. Thought I was in love. So I was behaving as someone who was brokenhearted. And I don't think that any of us should be too hard on ourselves with that. You know what I mean? When you want someone and they don't want you, it stinks. And take it from me, though, that to lose our pride and go after them, perhaps because our self-esteem goes missing for a bit, leads to nothing but self-loathing. As I look back, I see so clearly the lessons I should have learned 20 years earlier than when I even wrote this article. I should have learned a lot of these things when I was young. And I should have had a higher regard for myself. Actually, I think I knew them even then. I just lost my way. Now, having snapped back into place over the course of some time, I write here, but then I lost my way again, but now I've snapped back into place again. But I remember when, in order to be a gift to someone, you must first believe that you are a gift to someone. And I remember feeling, I guess I must have been feeling less than a gift to someone. If you're begging and pleading and crying and going after someone who they're not chasing you back, I think that at that point we need to look at our bar for ourselves, our view of ourselves. So if we just adjusted it, it would be very easy to learn to unlove. Well, I'm worthy of everything, and you don't even want me? I mean, I am one phenomenal gift, just as I am. And I wrote that in there. I put, let me tell you. Because I'm trying to recognize my own self-worth, right? And now at this point, fast forward 7 years, I'm untouchable now. I definitely know my worth. I will not accept anything less than what I have in mind to be treated as far as with respect and honor and loyalty and all of that. So on the horizon for all, I wish that you all see the gift in yourselves. And once you do see the gift in yourself, it elevates you above wanting to chase the person. It brings you into a place of, you know what, I can unlove that person. They don't love me. Why would I waste my time? Goodbye. You're a gift. You're a gift. You're a gift. We're all a gift. And you have your own unique everything. And if someone chooses not to be with you anymore, it sounds so easy, but the learning to unlove should come automatically. Once we attain the self-awareness of our unique treasures within, then only can we extend those outward to others. Many of you have this down, and to those I applaud you. You know your gifts. You know that you bestow them upon others. For others, however, there can be struggles, bumps along the way, and tough times. To those people, I applaud you as well. The difficulty of not catching on to some of life's basic inner workings can be strenuous, devastating, and misleading. To go forth anyway and keep grabbing at life's goodness, man, that takes some positive energy, endless hope, and a strong desire to be happy, which are all key. This is how I ended the article. I want to mention this because I think that when it comes to breakups, we get very, very confused because our concentration is on, and I'm guilty of it. That's why this article was written. Our concentration is on, oh my God, why? What did I do wrong? Why did it go south? It was so beautiful. Instead of saying, let me tell him how I feel. Let me remind him how I feel. Let me remind him of what we were like. Let me send him a picture of us, a video of us. If we just say to ourselves, I am worthy of magnificence, the gift that is I will be appreciated by the person who finally I meet, am supposed to meet. And I'm going to rise above this breakup and just learn to unlove that person and untie that tie and let it float away just like they're doing to you. Learning to unlove has a lot to do with you loving yourself. You have to realize the gift that you are. And the learning to unlove, with my last narcissist, you guys, it became easy. It's not a matter of, it kind of is, I'm too good for him, but it's not that simple. It's, I'm independent of anyone that's trying to break up with you or that you're sad about having lost, or independent of that sadness, you are your independent, valuable self. If they are someone who does not see that, want that, need that, choose that, then your gift is now your own to cherish and nurture. And one day, somebody worthy of you will receive your gift. Maybe look at that way, that person rejecting you, that's God's way of saying, you know what, that person's not worthy of the gift that you are. My narcissist is not worthy of the gift that I am. I was the discarder every time, but he was the misbehavior who made me discard, so he chose to do all that and make that dissipate. He's not worthy of the gift that I am. Once I realized that, with all of the work that we've done on this channel, right? I don't know, I really sat up straight and said, it really was easy learning to unlove. I don't want that in my life. And it wasn't anything that I ever really did love. I got sucked in. I just wanted to mention this because breakups are hard for people. And they often wonder, what do I do now? What do you mean? I've been loving that person 3 years. I don't know what to do. Kind of getting used to being someone you loved. That song by Louis Capaldi. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful song. And then you pulled the rug. And then you're left with all these feelings, right? And then you pull the rug. I love that song. But where do the feelings go? You still have to deal with them. Assess them accurately. Maybe you're not in love anymore either. Maybe you were hanging on to prove a point that you belong together to somebody else in your lives. A parent, co-workers, whatever. But rise above it and recognize the gift in you. If someone doesn't want you, the first step to learning to unlove is let them go, accept their decision, and move on with your life, rise above it, and realize your gift. And love yourself. Please go ahead and hit sub, like, and share, and I'll see you next time.